Hey everyone, welcome to Therapeutic Tools of the Trade Saturday night live stream. And I thought this evening it might be quite timely. Hello, Rory. You going to come up? I thought it might be quite timely to talk about telehealth and how that might work, depending on how things go here in Australia. And also in other areas. I know we've got a couple of people in the group from overseas. There's a couple from North America, I think. Hopefully this will be helpful to you guys as well. A lot of the laws around privacy and confidentiality actually come from the American system, because the Australian system hasn't entirely caught up with healthcare system hasn't entirely caught up with what's kind of expected. So the American stuff is actually a bit more stringent, but I'll be talking about what is definitely applicable in Australia, and most of it I think will probably be applicable to the States as well. I think we do have someone joining us from Italy as well, buenas noches, and I am, sorry, going to Spanish, buona nota. I hope you are doing well, and that these little videos give you something to focus on and something to enjoy while you're quarantined. So, for those new to the group, my name's Danielle Graber. I'm a clinical psychologist and supervisor, and I'm also the director of 12 Point Psychology. Again, for those new to the group, I'll be talking tonight, obviously, as a psychologist and the director of a psychology practice, about what we're doing in terms of telehealth. But I will also be talking a little bit based off my experience in immunology. Before I was a psychologist, I worked in medical science, and I did my honours year in immunology and reproductive biology, and this stuff used to be very much in my wheelhouse and the kind of stuff that I would be working on. So I will be talking a little bit in terms of how you can find that balance between preparedness and panic. We know from disaster response work, if people get too frightened and too panicked, then they don't bother preparing, because they think, oh, we're all going to die anyway, so I'm not going to bother washing my hands. How's that going to help? Whereas if people aren't worried enough, again, they don't take precautions. It's always hard to find that balance. Hey, to those joining live tonight. It's always hard to find that balance between, scaring people so much that they don't do anything, or not scaring them enough so they don't do anything. You want kind of that fine line between, there is stuff we can do here that will help, not just help us, but help the community as a whole to see if we can stop this virus spreading and overwhelming the health system. Hey Jess, hey Karen. Tonight I thought I would talk a little bit about our response at a practice level to Corona and COVID-19, and particularly around telehealth. There's been lots of discussion around, GPs, but mental health professionals as well, going to telehealth sessions, which I think is a great idea. If, like me, you happen to have an autoimmune condition and are not the healthiest or most functional immune system in the world, you don't really want to get this virus. We started out under health department guidelines just saying, if you've been overseas, particularly China, Korea, or Italy, we ask that you self-isolate for 2 weeks, or certainly you don't come to the practice if that's the case. But we're now starting to see people within the community are passing the infection, so those precautions, it's not as helpful anymore. We're now looking at people who haven't been overseas, haven't had any contact with people overseas, are getting sick. So the virus is in the community now. Hand washing is still massively important. If you haven't seen the memes about that, there's lots of different ways to remember how long to wash your hands for. Soap and water, and you can either do sing happy birthday to yourself twice, The Chorus of Cornflake Girl by Tori Amos, and the speech that Jennifer Connelly does at the end of Labyrinth. I've walked through the labyrinth to find you. You have no power over me. You do all those things in your head. Pick one of those and do that while you're washing your hands. You're good. You're good. That stuff can help. That one can definitely help. But given in Victoria, we're looking at a couple of big organisations are starting to say, send everybody home. We're just going to work remotely. GP clinics are asking people if they are sick to just call in, not to come in physically. Telehealth is seeming like more and more and more and more of a good idea. So that's why I thought we will talk about telehealth tonight specifically. And I'll also share some really, really useful graphs about the virus, so you can educate yourselves and anyone in your family or any of your clients who might be in the panicky we're all going to die phase, to help calm them down a little bit, but also to show why we do need to be taking some precautions. So telehealth. My first kind of role in psychology or in counselling was on the Child Abuse Prevention Service, or with the Child Abuse Prevention Service, which used to run a 24/7 hotline for anyone who basically, we talk to young kids who are currently being abused. We talk to fully grown adults who were just dealing with the dealing with where the abuse had left them as an adult. We talked to people who were concerned about their kid might be showing signs. We talked to all sorts of people about all types of abuse, and it was all over the phone. So I don't know, I perhaps have a bit of a skewed perspective, but I always found telehealth to be really useful. So it's always something I've been offering in practice for me anyway. I've got some clients, because I see a lot of clients with health-related issues, and they know I have health-related issues. So if either of us are sick, if either of us have something infectious, we say, let's catch up online instead, because we don't want to make the other one sick. And I find it, I find it really effective. Phone counselling is a little more challenging than online in terms of being able to read the client and what's happening, but your ear comes in pretty quickly and you'll start to pick up just changes in their voice, the same way that you would pick up changes in their presentation in the room. With online, the biggest challenge tends to be, and this is annoying, I don't want to get political about it, but the fact that this has happened and we really don't have good, reliable internet service it's a little bit annoying for a country, our size and wealth and all that kind of stuff. Because the most annoying thing when you're doing telehealth sessions with a client is they're talking like this, everything's going well, and then it freezes, or it starts to buffer, or it just drops out altogether for no particular reason. That is really difficult. Depending on the content of the session, what you're talking about, where you're up to at that particular time, it can be really, really tricky. But I try to think about it in the same way that it's not like unexpected things can't happen in the therapy room either. So at our Burwood Highway practice, it took us about 6 months to convince the gardener that he needed to tell us before he came to work out the back, because otherwise you'd be in the middle of the session and the next thing there's a guy with a whippersnipper standing at the window looking in. He didn't get why that was not conducive to a good therapy session. So, obviously we're an animal assisted practice as well. We quite often have unexpected things happening with the dogs. I think I've talked before about the fact a dog farting in session can be quite a distraction, for better or for worse. But other places we've had fire alarms go. Like, distractions and interruptions can certainly happen in the therapy room as well. So I try and think about it like that when it does happen with sessions. Some people worry about setup. So I'm going to share a couple of things about how to set yourself up to give you the best chance of having a non-interrupted session. Obviously, you need a good internet connection. Our clinic, one of our clinics has a really, really good connection because we just have that set up on like a 4G modem. The other one's connected to the NBN and is much dodgier. Go figure. If I'm doing it from home, it depends which one I hook up to. So be conscious of that, be mindful of that. But with most of the platforms, you can test your speed beforehand. You can even talk your client through testing their speed and make sure you get that minimum. I think about 500 bytes per second is the minimum, but you can find that relatively easily on most platforms just to check it is going to be okay. Sound is really important, obviously, when you're doing telehealth work online. You'll see most of the time when I do these, I've got this little microphone. So I just plug this into my phone, or I can plug it into the computer, and it just should hopefully be making my voice a little less tinny, and it'll cut out any background noise. So particularly if there's a lot of wind outside, or if it's hot in here and I've got the fan on, this cuts out that noise. So this is with the microphone. This is without the microphone, and this thing was $25 from Amazon. If you're doing sessions though, and you want to use a microphone, you also need a headphone, because obviously if the microphone was plugged in and the sound was coming through the computer or the phone as well, the microphone you'd be getting horrible feedback. So if you're doing telehealth, AirPods work really, really well. Any of the like little earbud microphone headphoney things that come with most of the new phones work really, really well. I can't stand them. I hate having it's ironic really considering how many earrings I have, but I hate having the earpods in my ear. So I use one of these that's got the little microphoney thing. So I can hear what the client is saying. If I suddenly end up with a lot of background noise here, say a dog starts barking, for example, not that that would ever happen, I can close this and it amplifies the sound. And excuse me. And so this is talking through this microphone now. It's not the best look in the world, but again, I just tell myself I'm like Madonna. And this one, this one used to belong to our receptionist for admin work. So this was about $70, and it's pretty reasonable quality. It's lasted for years. They've updated to the Bluetooth ones now, which you could also try those. But for telehealth, I just find this really, really useful. I like having the wire, and I just find it really, really reliable. It's quite comfortable. You don't really notice after a while. The clients don't seem to notice. They're usually wearing headphones of some sort themselves. But you don't need any of this stuff. So I don't even know on this it makes how much of a difference it makes. This is now no microphones. So you don't need any of that stuff. You can use it. It can help. It can enhance things a little bit, but definitely not necessary. Webcams are an option if you want a clearer picture. Again, not necessary. It's really up to you. You can make it as complicated and fancy as you like, or as simple as you like. The most important thing if you're doing online telehealth sessions with a client is that you talk about it beforehand, what you are going to do if you have a dropout or a freeze or anything like that. So with all of my clients, I generally say I use a platform called DoxyMe, and that means I have like a virtual waiting room that they phone into. So if we get cut off, they need to phone back in. I can't reconnect with them unless they phone back in first. So I discuss that with them beforehand. I say, if we get cut off, you just need to click that link again. Otherwise, I won't be able to get you back. If you're using something like Skype, you just have to say, if we get cut off, I will call you back. because you don't want to, like if you're talking to someone on the phone and the phone cuts out and then you both try and call each other back, and you don't want the same thing happening with Skype or Zoom. So have that contract already worked out ahead of time, and have a phone number and a phone that you can use if all else fails, and if the network is just not your friend. Just go for the phone. I probably have to do that. So I would do 1 or 2 telehealth sessions every week. That might increase over the next couple of weeks. It depends what's happening with the warnings and all the rest of it with Corona. But I do, at least 1 or 2 every week. And I reckon once a month I have to go to the phone, because we're just having too many connection problems. Sometimes my end, sometimes their end, but we always talk about, we'll give it, if we lose contact, we give it 2 more tries. If it's not working, we go to the phone. So having that discussion beforehand, knowing what you're going to do if you do lose contact, really, 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 really valuable. I cannot stress how useful that is. The other concern that people have is privacy. So I believe, I know of one psychologist at least who has had to self-isolate, and so would have to be doing telehealth sessions from home. I have my study. This doesn't have anything in it that I would be embarrassed or ashamed or worried about a client seeing. Most of my clients know I like Star Wars. It's not a big deal to me that they know I like Princess Leia, and I've got, actually, have you seen this one? I will show this one. Yeah, if you've ever looked at this one up here, this is Rory and Jersey giving therapy to Boba Fett. I love that one. I have no problem with any of my clients seeing that. But if you are not lucky enough to have your own study and your own space, actually, let me put the microphone back on, see what kind of difference that's making now. If you are not lucky enough to have your own space, then what I would suggest is something I was looking into before I decided I wanted to convert the study. Get a room divider. So I took a photo. I went to a reject shop at the local shopping centre today. I braved Corona for you guys just to get a photo of some room dividers that you could use. I'm lying. I had to get some other stuff anyway. But I will post a couple of examples. You can get them on eBay. You can get them at like local reject shops, craft shops, and they're those Japanese room dividers that just fold out. You can get quite cheap, simple bamboo-y type ones. You can get ones that have pictures and scenes on them, but you just pop them up behind you, and then you could be sitting in your bedroom with the bed behind you, and as long as the screen's right behind you, no one's going to know. You could be sitting on your couch. You could be sitting in your study. You could be sitting at your kitchen. No one would know, because all you need is the little tripod and your phone or your laptop and the divider behind you, and you're good to go. No one's going to be seeing into your house. With people who are looking at potentially having kids at home, trickier. Depends on the age of the kids. I mean, I don't mind if the dogs pop on, obviously, but they're also trained therapy dogs, so they're used to sharing the public eye. But I wouldn't feel great, if my nieces or nephews were over or something and they jumped on camera when I was talking to a client, or potentially overheard some stuff I was talking with a client. I would not feel great about that. One of the big pluses to going to headphones. But do try and make sure that the kids are set up somewhere separate. If there's a separate room, again, this is where, if you've got one of those divider screens, pop yourself in the bathroom. If that's the only door in the house with a lock, not ideal, I realize. But if it stops the kids coming in and showing up on screen when you're talking to a client, I think it's a good thing. So what have we covered? We've covered platforms. We've covered privacy, keeping that. Client privacy, very important. So you want to make sure that whatever online platform you're using is something called HIPAA compliant, HIPAA, which is like the Health Insurance Protection Authority something. I'm really bad with acronyms. But it's something about privacy. Hey, Kirsten. Health Insurance Protection Authority something. Anyway, you want your online platform to be compliant with those privacy. Hey, Nick. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, the headphones are really, really handy. It does make it easier to hear sometimes too, and to keep other people from not hearing. At the moment, Zoom is HIPAA compliant. Skype is compliant in Australia, but not in the States, I believe. I'm not 100% sure on that, and it might change. There's a platform called Coviu. I don't know how you pronounce it, Kovu or Coviu. I use DoxyMe because it's free and it's very reliable and it's compliant. And all you need to do is send the client one link once, and anytime they have an appointment with you, they just have to click on that same link. It takes them to this virtual waiting room, which you can set up to have like a picture or your logo or instructions or however you want it set up. I think ours is still set up with like a picture of the dogs or something, because of course it would be. But you can have something in there about the privacy. You can set up that waiting room any way you like, and it's a really, really nice option, I think. The last thing then to think about, so it's about our privacy, protecting our privacy and our homes, protecting the client's privacy, headphones and some of the practical gear. Yes, the last thing then would be, in Australia, if you are an eligible Medicare provider, so if you're eligible to provide sessions to clients under the Better Access Scheme, excuse me, excuse me, it's not Corona, I swear, I promise. Yeah, if you're eligible to provide sessions under Better Access, you're eligible to provide sessions under the new telehealth item numbers. The government has said anyone using those telehealth numbers, has to bulk bill. So for some clinicians, obviously that could be a massive pay cut. But I think certainly at the moment, if you've got a client who's really, really anxious, really, really nervous about coming in, and it's a choice between them cancelling all their appointments altogether or doing a couple of bulk bill sessions, that's a decent choice. And certainly if you had to self-isolate, my sister is in isolation in Sydney at the moment. She runs a performing arts school, and she's going a little bit cray-cray. Very hard to take a dance or a drama class over Skype, but she's trying. If we were self-isolated and weren't physically sick and wanted to see clients, then at least being able to offer them bulk billing might be a good option. The other thing, though, to remember is just because the government has said you can access telehealth rebates if you bulk bill, doesn't mean you can't offer your clients the option of maybe a reduced fee for a telehealth session. You don't have to offer to do it under Medicare. For some clients, it really may be that's just the only way that they can afford to do it. But if you're seeing a client who normally you see in the rooms and charge them $200 an hour, I see no reason to suddenly bulk bill them. Tell them you'll do a telehealth session for $150 an hour. So they're not as far out of pocket, because you can't claim a rebate obviously on that session. But we only get 10 Medicare sessions per year anyway. And with some of my clients, we've usually churned through them, and they have to pay privately towards the end of the year anyway. So I am just saying to some of them, if you want to do it, we're just going to charge a flat fee, and it'll be out of pocket, but it means you'll have some extra better access sessions up your sleeve towards the end of the year. So why not? I think, reserve the bulk bill sessions for the clients who really, really, really genuinely need it. And if you're not someone who ever bulk bills and you've got a full caseload of full fee paying clients, just charge them what you want to charge them. This is a great option for some of our clients, some who actually really, really need it. Thank you, Nick. And certainly, some of my older clients or the chronic health clients, and they're on disability pension and all this kind of stuff. I mean, I bulk bill them half the time face to face anyway, so bulk billing them online is not such a big deal for those clients. But otherwise, just treat it like a private session. I mean, you're still giving that hour, they're still getting your time and your attention. You'll still do your normal prep, you'll still do your notes, all that stuff. You don't have to use the bulk billing item numbers if you don't want to. Okay, so I will be posting a bit of a summary of all of this. I do have my father-in-law visiting this evening, so I'll wait till he goes to bed, so it'll be late. But I don't want to be antisocial. Well, more so than sitting in here doing this while he's out there. But I will post a summary of all of this stuff. So I'll post a summary of the platforms. I'll post the pictures. I can post the pictures actually now of some of the dividers. Ooh. Interesting. There we go. Downside to having a wired one. Okay, and this is the poster that I don't usually show. That's my girl power poster. I don't usually show that one to the clients or when I'm trying to be professional, but well, the joys of live streaming. So yes, I will post a summary of all of this stuff, all of the different platforms. If you want to have a play with any of them, I would suggest, like I said, DoxyMe is free. Go on, set up an account and send it. So, Nick, I said, I'll send you a link. You can sign in, see what it's like from the client side of things. And then if you set up, so find a friend and test each other out. See what their virtual waiting room looks like. See how the process is, so you can talk a client through it, or your admin team can talk a client through it. Because most of the clients are just nervous about, how private is it going to be? How easy or difficult is it going to be? And once you've done it a few times, you will see it's really straightforward. It's really quite easy. The most annoying thing is the dropouts, but you're going to put a plan in place to deal with that anyway. And I think it is a really, really good option for now, and hopefully will help people find that balance between panic and preparedness. Okay, long one this evening, but an important one, I hope. And look out in the group for the next couple of days when, tonight and tomorrow, and I'll post details about the item numbers and all that kind of stuff. So thank you very much, everybody. I think, Nick, you're the only one left live. So I will say good night, and I'll see you all next week. We'll see how crazy the world has gone between now and then. Okay, bye.